Welcome to our discussion today regarding the 4 generations in the workplace. My name is Melinda Mullenix. I look forward to providing you an overview and some examples today to hopefully assist you as you engage your workforce. I would also like to note that I am a Generation Xer, and I was born to baby boomers, have several cousins and even a sibling that are Generation Yers, along with grandparents as old as 101, so we'll definitely be pulling from my overlapping generational experience as well. Obviously, some of us walk into this presentation with some stigmas and stereotypes when it comes to discussing these 4 generations. For example, one stigma I hear most generally is that those Generation Yers just have no work ethic and don't understand the rules. Or what about those traditionalists and their old ways of doing things? I can never get a response from them when I ask for feedback. We have likely heard some of these comments as well as other comments in our workplace based upon the particular age and generation of an employee. What we encourage you to accomplish as you digest our generational differences is how important it is that we gain a better understanding of one another and how your business can actually thrive while trying to understand these stigmas, stereotypes, and the many ways in which we might be different based upon our generation. It is equally important to understand that given our backgrounds, cultures, education, motivation, and other influencing factors, we are all different outside of our generational influences. And we may not feel ourselves exactly fitting into one of these 4 generational boxes per se that we're going to discuss today, but that's okay. What is important for you to understand as you move forward in your work environment is that the differences found within our generations do exist, and some of these influencing factors most definitely drive the decisions given our differences within each generation. Before we dive into talking about each of the 4 generations, we need to outline the definition of a generation. It is simply the common experiences we share while coming of age, and it is furthermore the shared values and value system as a result of these experiences. It is also very relevant to define why it is of the utmost importance to learn more about this topic. Basically, if we don't talk about why we're different and our different perspectives, then we don't come to the best decisions as we work side by side with one another. The more people are willing to invest in honest communication about this topic and the challenges in our work environment as a result, the better the outcome. The generational issues that challenge our businesses become recruiting, management, training, and retention issues as the workplace becomes more diverse. We are going to further examine some of our preconceived notions about each of these generations shortly, but while we're overviewing the generational time frames, take some time to think about some of your preconceived notions as well. As you take a look at the years that separate each generation, keep in mind that we also have what we label cuspers. So these cuspers are those individuals that were born kind of right in between or on the edge of where research has defined each generation. These cuspers may find themselves identifying with more than one generation as a result. And you may even be a cusper and also not identifying exclusively by some of the influencing factors. But again, try not to feel as though you need to fit into a box, but rather understand that these influencing factors are widely observed, particularly as we'll discuss as it relates to how we're affected by politics, the media, heroes, and other influencers. The traditionalists, also called the maturers, veterans, and sometimes even labeled the silent generation, still occupy 5% of today's workforce. These individuals were born pre-1945. The baby boomers were born primarily between 1945 and 1964 and are currently our largest generation in the workforce at 45%. As the individuals consider early retirement packages, or even if they wait to retire in their 60s, the next generation, called Generation X, will not be large enough to take over the reins of business. The Generation Xers are our smallest generation and less than 50 million, while we have over 80 million baby boomers. The Generation Xers were born from 1965 to the early 1980s. They are followed by our second largest generation, the Generation Yers, also popularly called the Millennials and sometimes the Nexters. They were born from the early 1980s to the turn of the century. Okay, let's give you some statistics to further elaborate upon the importance of our learning today. 75% of agribusiness employers will see 1 to 5% of their workforce retire in the next 1 to 2 years, while 10% of agribusiness employers will experience 6 to 10% of their team members exiting the workforce in the next 3 to 5 years. Some agribusiness employers, nearly 65%, have already adapted flexible staffing approaches, such as contractors, part-time staff, and flexible work schedules. Organizations in our industry are already telling us that traditionalists and baby boomers aim to stay in the workplace longer or take other types of opportunities, whether that is on contract, part-time, or even less stressful and time-consuming full-time roles. Many of you may have heard of examples of organizations bringing back retirees to mentor their next generation of business leaders in some of these flexible staffing capacities.